Hey, Mike, guess what?
What?
Mike, raging rivers, hungry bears, drastic avalanches, roaring seas. No matter how prepared you are, a walk in the woods can go from innocent to disaster in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
When pushed to their breaking point, humans are capable of astonishing things that you would never thought of possible.
Yeah.
Listen to In the Wild as they explore the most heroic, terrifying, and phenomenal stories of real people who survived the unsurvivable. Learn what went wrong, what went right, and how you can make it out alive if the worst case ever happened to you. In the Wild podcast reviews on Apple include Love Your Podcast from Laura. It's scary how relentless nature can be. I always enjoy this podcast at work. It keeps me on the edge of my seat. Or how about we go with Hiker 0001? Good stories and good narration. I like when there are sound effects that add to the ambience of the story. In the Wild podcast on Apple Podcasts and everywhere you get your podcast downloads.
Broadcasting across the nation from the East Coast to the West, keeping you up to date on technology while enjoying a little whiskey on the side, with leading edge topics, along with special guests to navigate technology in a segmented, stylized radio program. The information that will make you go, Pull up a seat. Raise a glass with our hosts as we spend the next hour talking about technology for the common person. Welcome to TechTime Radio with Nathan Mumm.
Welcome to Tech Time with Nathan Mumm, the show that makes you go, technology news of the week. The show for the everyday person talking about technology, broadcasting across the nation with insightful segments on subjects weeks ahead of the mainstream media. We welcome our radio audience of 35 million listeners to an hour of insightful technology news. Why should you listen to our show each and every week? Well, it's because we cover the top technology subjects without a political agenda. We verify the facts and do it with a sense of humor in less than 60 minutes. And of course, with a little whiskey on the side. I'm Nathan Mumm. Welcome to our show today. We live stream during our show on 5 of the most popular platforms, including YouTube, Twitch.tv, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We encourage you to watch us live or visit us online at techtimeradio.com. Tweet us during the show at hashtag TechTimeRadio, and we'll do our best to respond to the tweets on the air. If you enjoy the show, make sure to give us a 5-star review on Apple, iTunes, or Spotify, or whatever podcast replay service you are using. I'm your host, a technologist with 30 years of technology expertise working for Fortune 500 companies across the country. My co-host, Mike Renee, is out sick today. Oh. All right. So we have our whiskey expert and technologist, Mark Gregoire, joining us in the studio today. Thank you, Mark, for joining us. Are we excited about this? Are you excited?
I'm very excited.
All right. Okay. There you go.
Spending an afternoon with Nathan.
That's right. Woo-hoo. Okay. Well, we are two friends from different backgrounds, but bring the best technology show possible every week for our family, friends, and fans to enjoy. Welcome, everybody. Let's start today's show.
Now on today's show.
All right, today on Tech Time with Nathan Mumm, we have a CES quick review. We're going to do our CES best of the best next week, so you're going to want to listen to that. We got the best items, and then we're going to follow that up with our CES best, craziest technology items. So that's always a great one to listen to.
Is this just the best show?
So that's right. There you go. We also have today a quick Chick-Fil-A was hacked. We're going to be talking about that, and a ChatGPT that might not work for schoolwork. We talked about the ChatGPT. We're so excited about this. But now we have an individual. Of course, there's got to be some college student that decided to create an app that goes on and analyzes the results for any surveys or any essays or anything that you would actually submit for review, and it will now give it a ranking on if it's legitimate or if it was created with an AI. And you know what?
We got excited for that.
Yeah, you're going to be talking about that. That's going to be really good. And then we have Gwen Way, who's going to be on our show. She has a new item for gadgets and gears that helps with travelers. Then we have Mona Akmal that will be joining the show. She's on a mission to get more women in technology, not only as participants around the table, but as founders and co-founders within organizations that will be a part. So we're excited to have her. And then we have Erin joining the show in studio, the founder and CEO of PairTree. So today is about women in technology. That's what it's going to be about. We're really excited about that. If you listen to our show all the time, Gwen Way has been a part of our show from like day 2. I think she was on like the second episode or third episode of the show. So she's joining us along with these great, insightful women that will help us learn about technology aspects and about women in tech. So, of course, we do have our standard features, including This Week in Technology, a technology fail that I can go off on hours with. So, Mark, you're going to have to keep me in line on that. And a possible Nathan Nugget. As always, we have our pick of the day whiskey tasting during the commercials to see if our selected whiskey pick gets 0, 1, or 2 thumbs up at the end of the show. So sit back, raise a glass, and welcome to Tech Time with Nathan Mumm. Now it's time for the latest headlines in the world of technology.
What's happening in the world of technology? This is our top stories in the first 5 minutes.
All right. So story number 1, this year's show, CES, marks the full in-person return to Las Vegas. And there were more than 100,000 people and over 2,200 companies that presented. Let's go and take a look at our audio of the CES review. Rewind.
Welcome to the CES 2023 and Happy New Year.
Next month, PlayStation VR 2 launches a new generation of virtual reality experiences.
Will wireless TVs be the next big thing? Only time will tell, but they've certainly been popular on the show floor. Now, if you're looking for a truly wireless OLED TV, we also saw a 55-inch model from a brand called Displace. It's powered by 4 hot swappable batteries that should give it about a day of use. It has a suction pump system that can attach to apparently nearly any surface. And like the LG model, it also streams from a box that you can connect devices to.
All right. So here's what we got. We're going to talk a little bit about some TVs. Let me just tell you, LG. So the TV market kind of goes up and down, right? You have Sony that does really well for a while. Then you'd have Samsung that was doing really well. So LG kind of in the last 2 years, they're kind of now the go-to high-end television that you want to get. They showed off a 97-inch OLED TV that was completely wireless. So essentially it has a box that you can plug all your connections into, your HDMI inputs, your regular video inputs into it. It can be anywhere from 30 to 60 feet away. And then what it does is it automatically knows those signals that are coming into the box, sends it to the television so you can mount it on a wall with no cables in the background, have everything taken care of. And this was the longest line. There was lines all the way out to 2 to 3 hours to watch a 5-minute presentation on LG's 97-inch.
All right, so you talk about no cables. Let's spend a second on that. Does that include the power cable?
That includes the power cable. There's batteries that run in these things. Again, the same with the plug-in TV. They actually have battery packets that can last up to a day of full television playing of the television itself. You plug in these battery packets on the side of the television itself, and then it runs off these until it gets low, and then you have to go and get them recharged again.
That is interesting.
It is. So you got batteries to charge the units, no power into it. You got a remote box that sends it all to it, and there's no lag. They had games on there. They had stuff. So I'll just tell you, LG, if you're going to be looking to buy a TV now, what have I always said? You don't buy a TV now. The time to buy a TV is when? Do you know? Super Bowl weekend. That is the
highest preview.
Yeah, that is the best pricing that you ever get. So don't go out and buy a TV now that CES just came on out there. Wait a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks until the Super Bowl weekend kicks off.
Yeah, but if you want one of these cool ones, you're going to have to wait a little while.
You're going to have to wait. Well, they said they're going to be available in August of this year.
What I've generally have seen with CES is whatever is cool and neat there never comes out that year. You always have to wait a year.
Yeah, you do. But I don't know. LG says that they have them ready to go.
Version 1.
Version 1.
We always know, stay away from those odd versions.
Okay, so listen to this too. They essentially, somebody on the show room floor, we're going to be talking about this, created a treadmill desk. It is essentially a desk that has a stationary bike plugged into the desk. So when you're working from home, you're working out on your bike. And then because of the energy that is translated through a transistor in the bike's resistance, you can actually then have power jacks that are running. So literally we are now being hamsters in a little wheel where we are now running a bike to sit at a desk to work so I can produce enough electricity for my laptop.
And they consider this new?
Well, they consider this
Because
new, and they consider
I used
this
to go
great.
to CES, the company I worked for prior. We used to go to CES each year because we had
Yeah.
a booth there.
Yeah.
And one of them was we had a bicycle that ran a copier, and other people had bicycles that ran this or a laptop. It's not new.
Well, this is, I
technology.
guess this is like the biggest. This is one of the
I
biggest
guess
items.
maybe because of the COVID and the exercise craze, and everybody's standing desks now.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I would run out of juice. Then let me just tell you, I'd only go a quarter of a mile, and that my poor laptop. I said, "Why weren't you on work today?" Well, I just ran out of juice. I couldn't pump the bike anywhere. And the last thing, move over, Switch and Steam Deck. There's a new handheld gaming device in town coming January 26th. The long-teased Razer Edge could give the Nintendo Switch and Steam Deck a run for its money. I don't think it has a chance, but everybody's saying it's going to. It's more of a tiny Android tablet that essentially you put controllers on the side of it and you can play games.
Ooh, so expect lockups and bugs and viruses.
That's exactly what I got.
All right.
And it's a $400 price tag. So you know what? I could have essentially 2 Nintendo units built to be a portable device for the price of this copycat device. So we'll see what happens.
I'm very interested in this one. I don't have much hope in it like you, but I'm hoping to be surprised.
Okay, there you go. All right, story number 2, Mark. This is all up your alley, isn't this?
Oh, this one I love. Actually, we got sidetracked last night on this one.
We did.
For quite a long time.
At our production meeting, we kind of went off a little bit.
So a college student created an app that can tell whether AI wrote an essay. Because teachers worried about students turning in essays written by a popular artificial intelligence chatbot known as ChatGPT, which was on the show a few episodes ago.
Yep.
And they want to know because students are starting to use this.
Yeah, so this is great, right? So you can write,
Yeah.
you say, hey, tell me a story about, we did the Civil War last night, right?
We did.
And then it did Civil War, talked about Abraham Lincoln. Then I said, tell me more about Abraham Lincoln. Then tell me about his death. And it did a great job. It came on
did.
out.
I read through and I was like, okay, how do I change it? What would I tweak? What would I move around? I thought it was almost perfect. I would have turned that in. I've been very happy.
And you probably would have got an A+.
Probably.
But not anymore because somebody has to ruin
Edward Tian, a 22-year-old senior at Princeton University, has built an app to detect whether text is written by the ChatGPT, the viral chat box that sparked fears over its potential for unethical uses in academia. I don't think it's potential. I think it's real.
it. Okay.
Let's go on there. He's a computer science major, is minoring in journalism. Spent part of his winter break creating GPT-0, which he can quickly and efficiently decipher whether a human or the chatbot authored an essay. And his motivation for this
What is that?
was to fight what he sees as increase in AI plagiarism.
What is it? This guy has to, this is not the guy that you invite to the party in the student hall, is it?
No, this is, you know what? He's going to change the world.
Okay.
And every power to him. But yeah, he spent his winter break doing this. So he's got a very high moral compass, but we could use more people like that.
Okay, we could, I guess.
And more than 30,000 people tried this when this came out.
Yeah.
A lot of teachers, and it crashed the app. It was so popular.
Uh-huh.
And what it does is it goes through and checks his perplexity and burstiness. And those are 2 fancy words, aren't they?
Yeah, and I didn't understand the rate. Do you understand the ranking of what it means by that? Okay.
No, I need to spend more time on that. But basically, perplexity really talks about the complexity, and humans tend to write in a more complex terms.
Okay.
So it must not be checking the 6th graders' essays.
Okay.
Or even our high school essays.
Okay.
And then burstiness actually compares variations of sentences, whether they're long and complex or short. And humans tend to have this odd pattern to them where they'll have this quick burstiness and then a bunch of simple because we kind of get tired, while the computer AI is very consistent. And that's what he's really checking for.
All right, so we tested this, and what happened?
So we tested it, and you wrote, I think, 3 different essays using the chatbot, and it caught each one.
You did.
And then you took some that you had written for the show and another one for work and popped it in, and it said, no, that's human.
So it saw my misspellings and my grammatical errors and said,
I don't think that's what it's looking for.
Okay,
No.
All right.
But this teachers are just going crazy over this because their job has become much difficult with this
AI stuff. Yeah, I'll tell you, if I was a student right now, I'd just be so upset. I just found a tool that I could do an essay and I could just go busy do something else. And now the teachers are going to have this. It's going to come back and say that I had AI. See, I got lucky enough when I went to school. No one knew what Microsoft Encarta was. So for all my reports, my junior and senior year, people didn't have these type of deals. So let me just tell you, my reports were all Microsoft Encarta, cut and paste. And I'd be like, "Oh, you did such a great
I'm
job,
a little
Nathan."
bit
And I'm
older
like,
generation. My teachers had it very easy. All they had to do was open the old encyclopedia and check it. That was it.
There you go.
Everything came from the encyclopedia if you're plagiarizing.
All right, story number 3. We got Chick-fil-A investigates reports of hacked customer accounts. We got a little bit of audio correspondent to tell us a little bit about this too.
If you happen to use that Chick-fil-A mobile app and you've got your bank account linked to it, several customers say hackers got into their bank account, took money from it. In a statement from Chick-fil-A, they say it does not appear there was a data breach. The company says it is still investigating just how this happened.
All right, now Chick-fil-A has changed their tune a little bit. So the fast food restaurant, as of this morning, said that they are looking into what they describe as suspicious activity linked to some of its customers' accounts. Now, it's essentially the Chick-fil-A's One membership program, which I'm not familiar with because I'm not a big Chick-fil-A fan. I said that.
Neither one of us are. So I think you're for the food, and I actually have boycotted them for almost 30 years.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I got you. So essentially, their customer support website provides potentially affected clients with details on what they notice on unusual activity to their accounts. Essentially, what was happening is people would go into the mobile orders and place orders through their phone account logins. Now, Chick-fil-A does not believe they have a breach within their system itself, but they believe that most people that have used this Chick-fil-A app probably have been compromised and use a simple password instead of a complex password that could be purchased for anywhere on the dark web or any place else. Chick-fil-A says that you should be checking your Chick-fil-A app. Please change your password and remove any stored payment methods, such as credit cards or debit cards, to ensure that no one else can go in and manage payment methods for your account itself.
I don't like to give them a lot of credit, but I got to give them a little bit for that because almost every story you've done for 2 years here, nothing's been compromised. You're safe. They just got in our system, all that kind of stuff. At least they said, hey, get your credit card, get your stuff out of there.
They did. And they said, and they actually created a page on their program site that said, take care of it. But there you go. So if you're shopping at Chick-fil-A and you don't understand where all your bonus points went for whatever chicken stuff, then somebody probably got it and has resold that to somebody else.
Somebody must be very excited to eat a lot of Chick-fil-A to get rid of bonus points.
Yeah.
It wasn't either one of us.
No, it was. I do not have that app on my phone. So, okay, well, that ends our top stories in the first 5 minutes. Moving on, before our first commercial break, we're going to have Gwen Way join the show on our Comcast live stream as we start Gadgets and Gear.
What's new in our gadgets and gear?
All right, Gwen, welcome to today's show. How is Gwen doing?
Doing well. It's a busy time of year for cybersecurity folks. Everybody out there, remember, hackers don't take the holidays off, so we're cleaning up a lot of stuff.
Okay, all right, good.
Hi, Gwen.
All right, Gwen. So we were talking about this last night. We had a great time with that ChatGPT. We spent like 35 minutes.
Gwen was part of that with us.
It was impressive.
So Gwen works for a security. She sends us all the security stories of anything. So she sent that Chick-fil-A story over that we ran on the last segment. All right, now let's talk about gadgets and gear. So I'll just tell you, last year you were pretty good. That Luna dog that I have is like unbelievable. And you helped save me money because I'm not doing gadgets and gear anymore. Although me and my wife were looking at our bills and it seems that we spent probably the same amount whether I did it or not. But today we're talking about a device that I can take with me on the go. So maybe now that COVID is kind of relaxed a little bit, I'm going to go take a trip over to Japan, probably not China, but over to Japan or someplace else. And hopefully this device will be able to help me out. Tell us what we're talking about today.
Exactly. So what we're talking about is, once again, on Kickstarter. It is called Wookle. It's Wookle. It has 71 languages and 56 what they call accents. I think it's a combination of accents and local dialects, and can actually translate within about half a second. So it's quick.
All right. So this is a device that you hold in your hand, right? So it looks like a pencil type device. Is that right?
That's correct. It connects to your phone via Bluetooth, although you have the ability to actually download what they call an offline language pack.
Okay.
which is pretty exciting because it means that if you are in a place where you don't have internet connection, you'll still be able to get translations.
Okay, perfect. And how long has this been on the Kickstarter? How much funding it has? Where are we at on that information?
All that good stuff. They are a little over 2/3 of their way through. They still have availability for a few more days. It looks like it's wrapping up around January 23rd. They had a goal of $1,280 and are currently sitting at over 30,000. So I think it's safe to say that this is
Fully
a
funded.
pretty popular thing.
So
Okay.
I'm really interested in this, Nathan. So, but Gwen, I need you because unlike my wife, I'm not very good at languages.
Okay.
But I'm waiting for him to make it a little smaller where I can put it on my chest and pin it on in a little badge shape.
Oh, so you're gonna be like a Star Trek badge? Is that what you
Universal
want?
translator. I've been waiting for you guys to
Exactly.
talk about it that way.
Oh, see that you know what? That would be the way to do it, right? So it
Yeah.
could just automatically talk back to you.
Yeah.
And
That
you
would
could do
be
that, yeah.
amazing.
All right. So how much does this cost to Kickstart fund this itself? So it sounds like it's funded. What if I want to buy one of these units?
It's fully funded. If you want to buy one, there are actually some early bird sales left, which brings it in at about $70. If you do decide that you want to go ahead and get two, though, it's $130. So that is not a bad deal.
You probably almost need to, don't you? Because if I have this translator and I'm trying to talk to somebody.
I think it has a speaker on it, doesn't it? Gwen?
It does.
Yeah.
Oh, it does have. Okay.
So it can go both ways.
So I can just so essentially it is like a Star Trek communicator.
Yeah,
It's just
Pretty
not.
much.
So all you got to do is get a magnet, and then you could pin it on your shirt, and you'd be good to go.
I love it. Now you have to tell me when a replicator comes up. That's really what I want.
You want a
That's the one
replicator?
I'm waiting for. That and a transporter.
A transporter that would make it.
That one scares me a little.
Does that scare you to take your molecules and mix them up and
Yeah,
send them
that
back
one
over
scares me.
again?
Okay, Dr. McCoy.
But what I'm curious, have they done any tests on this against? Because Google has their online translator that you can speak into or type into. Have they compared it to that at all for the accuracy?
Actually, Google Translate is one of the things they actually connect to as a translation engine. They also connect to a translation engine at Microsoft, Nuance, and a place called Baidu, which I believe is out of Hong Kong.
So they're not a new engine. They're just like the tool, the connection,
Exactly.
the integration.
Exactly.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
So it
Gwen.
kind of makes it kind of like a little portable device to do that.
Yeah, I get it.
So, okay, well that is interesting. All right, we're going to put the link on our TechTime Radio website so people can go and find out more about it. Now, let me just tell everybody a little bit of a warning on Kickstarter, okay? Because we kind of talked about this briefly last night at our staff meeting. I did a Kickstarter, and one of my 6 or 7 projects ended up not being fully funded. So just because it's on Kickstarter, and even though it may say that they have reached their goals, it doesn't always guarantee you that actual object is going to come. So be careful if you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on something for Kickstarter unless you know the backers themselves, because there is a chance that the company folds, that they don't actually get the item out there on time, and then you do end up eating the cost of what you spent on Kickstarter. Kickstarter is used to help fund creative ideas to make them mainstream, and that's what the platform's for.
Didn't you add another caveat? If it's an overseas company, there's even more of a risk of that.
Yeah, so if it's a United
Potentially.
States company, you have quite a bit that's safe. If it's overseas, it's not. Explain that a little bit there, Gwen. Can you explain that?
There are a couple of things. First of all, if it's a U.S. company, they can usually get your funds back if it does end up being a rug pull. The other thing that you can do to kind of keep yourself a little safer is you can look into the companies that are creators on Kickstarter. They actually provide a certain amount of information, such as where they're located, if there have been previous projects that they've actually put out, if they've backed any projects, and you can kind of track that down to see what kind of record they have.
So that's just good. So again, it's not a guarantee, and we talk about it here because we like gadgets and we like new and breaking ideas, but doesn't mean that they're always going to be fully funded. So be careful on that. And I got caught last year for one, but that's okay. I kind of had a couple that were really good, so I take it with a grain of salt. All right, Gwen. Well, I think you're going to kind of hang on a little bit for our women in tech area. We may come back to you a little bit later on the show today. How's that sound?
Sounds great. I will be here.
Okay. All right.
Thanks,
Well,
Gwen.
that ends our gadgets and gear. Up next, we have a special interview with Mona, and I hope I got her last name. I spent a bunch of time trying to get her last name correct, so I think it's Akmal. I will find out. The CEO and founder of Falcon. Mona is a product and engineer veteran who builds resourceful, kind, and output-driven teams that create and scale social-enabled products. From companies like Microsoft to Code.org, her vision for technology drives her excitement about the business. You will not want to miss this next segment we will have after we come back from our break. You're listening to TechTime Radio with Nathan Mumm. Hey, Mike, I'm looking for some help writing our blog post for TechTime Radio.
Well, you should try Phosphor AI. It's an online service that will save you hours of work with your content creation. Simply type in your title, and their AI software will get to work writing a high-quality original article for you. You'll need to review the article and take 15 to 20 minutes to make necessary edits before publishing. But you'll get free articles just for signing up, so you can try out the service and see how it works for you.
How many articles do I get free?
I already said you get 3 free articles. You should listen when I'm talking to you. Phosphor AI pricing is very reasonable for the quality of content that you'll get.
Why waste time writing the content yourself? And you get Phosphor AI to do it for you. Visit them online today at Phosphor AI. Again, that's PHOSPHORAI.com. All right. Welcome back to Tech Time with Nathan Mumm. Tech Time Radio is a weekly hour technology show that talks about current technology in a simple format without having to geek out. Brought to you by myself, Nathan Mumm, and Mike Gourdet normally, but we have Mark Gregoire filling in today because Mr. Gourdet is sick at home. Get well, Mike. Hopefully we can see you here next week.
Miss you, Mike.
I don't know what we're going to do without a mesmerizing moment. I do. We're going to put a Nathan Nugget in instead. All right. Well, we just
come back soon, Mike.
We just had our first whiskey tasting during the break. And now, Mark, tell us about what we are sipping in our pick of the day.
I'll be happy to. We're Oak Elk Distillery, and it's Oak Elk's Wheated Bourbon. It's a single barrel pick by Baseline Liquor, which is a liquor store in Oregon. And it is distilled by MGP. So Oak Elk just takes the juice, and that is their own particular mash bill.
Okay. Which
is 51% corn, 45% wheat, 4% malted barley. It is aged 5 years, a straight bourbon, and is 112.5 proof. And it's roughly about $173.
Wow. $173 a bottle?
$73.
Oh, $73. Okay.
$73.
Okay. $73. Okay. Well, still $73. Okay. It's got a nice smooth taste.
So let me tell you what they say about it.
Okay. What do they say about it?
On the bottle, it says Old Elk Straight Bourbon Whiskey is crafted with 4 decades of expertise, passion, and zero compromises. The master distiller, Greg Metz. Does that ring a bell for you?
It does not.
He is the former MGP master distiller for many, many years. And he called upon a lifetime of experience crafting the finest whiskeys in the world and applied that expertise to this straight bourbon whiskey now held in the bottle. The 45% portion of soft red winter wheat in the mash bill creates pronounced butterscotch flavors and a velvety, soft texture, even at barrel proof.
Okay.
And then next segment, we'll be talking about the founder, and I expect you to get who the founder is.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll have to Google that real quick as we do. Or
so
maybe
yeah,
I can do my ChatGPT, and then they can tell me all about it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I think about it later, only because I already wrote that in the mumbles. So I don't want to spoil it.
This is pretty good. This is pretty smooth. Odie, have you tasted it yet? Oh, you're going to like it. I guarantee you. I know Odie's taste, and she's going to be like, ooh.
All right.
Well, now that we got our whiskey out of the way, let's start our next segment, Ask the Expert.
This is a segment we call Ask the Experts.
All right. Connecting with us on the Comcast stream, Mona Akmal. Did I get that right? I hope I got. Did I get your name pronunciation right? How's your last name pronounced?
You got the first half of the last name right.
Okay, I did. So how do we pronounce it?
Akmal.
Akmal. Okay. The CEO and co-founder of Falcon. Mona is a product and engineer veteran who builds resourceful, kind, and output-driven teams that create and scale success-enabled products. From companies like Microsoft to Code.org, her vision for technology drives her excitement about the business. This woman is on a mission to get more women in technology, not as participants around the table, but as founders, leaders, and owners of companies in technology. All right, Mona is here on Tech Time to talk about how she is driving the change in the technology sector with women at the forefront. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. And that whiskey sounds amazing. I'm going to look this up after the show.
It is pretty good. It does have a nice taste. All right, so Mona, so let's just get right into the meat of today's topic here, right? Women in technology. What have been the challenges of being a woman tech founder, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, it's really weird. For the longest time, I felt that there was no discrimination against me because the sexism has gone under the radar, at least in the tech industry. So I would say now, in hindsight, having been in the tech industry for 23 years, the three big challenges that have shown up over and over again. Challenge number one is being quietly excluded. I'll give you an example. When I was at Microsoft in a pretty senior role, all my peers they were all men, and they would go bicycling over the weekend with our corporate vice president, who was our manager. And I was never invited to those things. And it didn't come from a bad place. The guys actually just wanted to be appropriate. But in being appropriate, they left me out of all the conversations that don't happen in conference rooms and offices. So that's always a struggle to overcome. The second challenge I've experienced over and over again is men are traditionally assessed on their vision and their potential, and women are asked for evidence. They need proof. And why is that problematic? Because when you are getting promoted to a job you've never done before, you are asked for so much more evidence than a male counterpart would. And it can be pretty disheartening because you look at your peer group and you see how hard you work and how much output you produce and how quantifiably you are significantly farther ahead of your peer group. But the results and the rewards that you're getting are not reflecting that. And then the last challenge has always been I've been told I am, not nice enough. I am too aggressive. I'm too ambitious. And that, honestly, those are not words that we use for men. Those are words we use for women because we have a model in our minds of what a woman should behave like. So a direct woman is considered aggressive. A direct man is not considered aggressive. They're just considered driven. And so dealing with the constant feedback loop of softening up and being more like a woman has been a challenge for me personally.
All right, so let's talk about big business technology mentors and sponsorships. We talked about this in our pre-interview. So everybody that we do on the show, we always do a pre-interview so we can kind of have something that we know we're going to talk about. And we can talk about this. And specifically, Mona, you talked about how mentors and sponsors, how you were really dissatisfied on the processes that you had to go through. Explain a little bit about that and some of the holes in this whole idea of sponsorship and leadership mentoring at these big companies.
Yeah, absolutely. And I felt bad after our pre-call because I got so charged up about this topic. It makes me so angry. I wasn't mad at you.
That's all right. I was good. I was not. I did not take any offense by any means at all.
Awesome. I appreciate that. So I would say that, mentorship has become a really popular concept. And I can't tell you the number of guys who want to be my mentors. I really don't need a mentor. I really don't. When I'm seeking mentorship, I will reach out. What women really need is sponsors, male sponsors. And to me, the big gaps that exist in the industry are big tech companies have created all these diversity and inclusion programs, Grace Hopper's conference, lots of women's conferences with women supporting other women. But the inequity that exists in technology is not a women's problem. It wasn't caused by women. It was actually caused by men. So unless men are part of the solution and are actually a primary part of the solution, for instance, if Grace Hopper's conference had 70% attendance that was men, you would see the conversation around women and equality change dramatically. As long as a minority group keeps supporting each other, they don't expand out, right? And so that to me is a big gap. Men have to take responsibility. So then the next question is, what type of responsibility? words are really cheap. And, I come from Pakistan. We're not big on words. We're big on actions. Because words don't cost anything, right?
Yep.
And so to me, if you give me advice on a book I should read or something you read in a blog post, respectfully, it's interesting, but it's not that interesting. What I want from you as a sponsor, not as a mentor, is open up your network. Connect me to people I don't have access to. Put me in rooms I would not necessarily be allowed in. Get me promoted. Get me a pay raise. Get me visibility. Get me a job that is significantly larger in scope than it was before. That's really what sponsorship looks like. And that's sorely lacking. And most men think they're doing a really good job because they're mentoring a couple of junior women here or there. That's nonsense. And I just don't buy it. So more sponsors, less mentorship, more action, fewer words.
All right.
I love the distinction between mentor and sponsorship.
Yeah, it's a big difference, right? Because anybody who
huge.
says, I'll be a mentor, and whether you actually do a lot of work or not, I mean, anybody can give advice to somebody. It's opening that
Like
network.
we love to mansplain.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now, Mona, before he goes on, I just want to say, when I heard you're going to be on the show, I wanted to be part of it. I remember from many, many years ago when you started the Dreamfly.
Oh,
and
wow.
it was very special. I have 2 daughters.
Wow.
And so this is a really special segment for me. Now, they're not in technology. I tried, but they didn't want to do what their dad did. But they have their own path. So that's their choice. But
Thank you
I
so
love what
much.
you're doing.
That's so wonderful to hear.
Thank you.
All right. So now let's talk a little bit about fundraising for a startup technology company. What are the pros and cons for your current company that you're working at, and the differences that you may have as a women-based led organization versus a man-based organization?
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny. When we were fundraising for our seed round, a lot of the top tier VCs, I won't take any names because, I do need to raise more money in the future. But a lot of them would actually invite a woman, like a token woman, in the conference room. And I really wanted to tell them that, do you seriously think I need a woman in the room to feel comfortable? Like, I didn't get here by needing to have another woman to hold my hand and make me feel comfortable. It actually, I think, it's well-intentioned but ill-placed, and it's like, it implies a level of fragility that no woman in my position would have in order for them to get where I've gotten. So I would say, other than that minor annoyance, the pros for us were, I am memorable because I don't look like any other founder. So you may not like me, but you will remember me. And that's a plus, right?
Yep.
Especially in the founder game, if a venture capitalist is looking at, 100 different pitches and talking to 15 different founders, being memorable really helps. Second, I have a male co-founder who looks the part, and I would take him everywhere with me. So that was a big pro. Third, I appeal to people's greed. We picked a market that is massive. So even if we were a small player in a massive market, that's still a big return for investors. And that's generally pretty lucrative. So really appeal to the greed. So they might feel afraid of investing in someone that looks like me and not Mark Zuckerberg. But I can offset that fear by showing them the greed that, imagine if there's a 1% chance that this does work, it's going to change your life as a fund, right? And so that's both a pro and a con. And I think that's generally my advice to anyone in my shoes is, every limiting belief and every challenge that you encounter, if you reframe it, it's an opportunity. There's something on the other side of it. You just have to flip it around, right? Those would be some of the highlights and lowlights of fundraising for us.
I'll tell you, I would much rather have you than Mark Zuckerberg at any meeting. Let me just tell you, I'm not a big Zuckerberg fan at all. Okay, so Mona, how can people get more information and contact you? And if they're very excited to be in tech, and what would be a way for them to reach out to you after this interview?
Yeah, absolutely. Just reach out to me on LinkedIn. Look up my name, Mona Akmal, Falcon with a K. We couldn't afford a C, so it's pretty easy. And my email address is mona@falcon.ai. So reach out to me on email. Pretty responsive.
All right, Mona, thank you so much for joining the show today.
Thank you,
Mona.
so
It's been a privilege.
All right, we're going to head out to a commercial break. Still, we have our technology fail of the week, this week in technology. And Erin Quick, the founder of PairTree, is in here for a live interview. You're listening to Tech Time with Nathan Mumm. We'll see you after the break.
This is Mark.
And Greg.
For Copiers Northwest.
With a terrific offer.
Called Printer Care Plus.
It's simple. Buy HP printer cartridges from Copiers Northwest and we'll service your current printers for free.
That sounds too good to be true.
It's made possible due to our HP Copiers Northwest relationship.
Copiers Northwest is an HP Platinum partner.
One of only 2 in the entire Northwest.
And now with Printer Care Plus,
Copiers Northwest will provide free printer service.
As long as they purchase genuine HP cartridges from Copiers Northwest.
That's right. IT departments no longer have to service printers.
Or fix paper jams with Printer Care Plus.
They can focus on more strategic initiatives.
And let our experienced technicians keep their HP printers up and running.
Sounds like a love-love relationship for IT departments.
Don't get too carried away. So how do they get more details on Printer Care Plus?
Call Copiers Northwest today, 206-282-1200, or visit copiersnw.com.
Copiers Northwest. New ideas, new solutions.
And now, let's look back at this week in technology.
All right, we're going to go back to January 9th, 1894. The first motion picture film receives a copyright. W.K. Dixon, an employee of Thomas Edison's movie studio, received a copyright for a motion picture film. The 5-second demonstration was 47-frame film showing a man sneezing. This man, Fred Ott, is now most famously known for having the sneeze record recorded in film. Fred Ott's sneeze is the earliest surviving film to receive a copyright in the United States. Well, technically a copyright for a film that has been granted to Edison Studio in previous years. The record of that film was lost, resulting in a sneeze holding the first ever copyright. Well, that was This Week in Technology. If you ever wanted to watch some Tech Time history with over 2 years of videos, podcasts, and blog information, you can visit techtimeradio.com to watch our older shows. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we have our Mark Mumble and our interview that you guys have been waiting for. We'll see you after this. Tech Time Radio is brought to you today by Nutility, the platform that makes utility management seamless by selecting your service providers, splitting a single bill amongst roommates, and then shutting off your service when it's time for you to move out. Nutility reviews your preferences and sets up all the utilities for you. This provides you with the best local provider in your service area. It's much easier than splitting up your bills between roommates. No more late Larry not being able to get to you on time to make the payments, and no more Venmo charges or PayPal charges. One place to do your billing so that everybody pays on time. Now, how can you use this great service from Nutility, you ask? Aha! Well, you can absolutely get it now and get 3 months for free. That's correct. If you go to Nutility.com, again, it kind of sounds like utility, but it's Nutility.com. Use the tech code 3, and again, that's Nutility.com. Get your first 3 months for free using the code TECH3.
The segment we've been waiting all week for. Mark's Whiskey Mumble.
All right.
Woo. In studio.
I've been waiting all week.
Okay.
Well, today, January 10th, is the perfect day for the two of us, Nathan.
Why is that?
It's Peculiar People Day.
Okay, so we're peculiar is what you're saying.
It's an opportunity to recognize and celebrate those who refuse to conform to the world's idea of normal and that set the world in motion.
I think that's everybody in the studio here. Well, at least Odie, me. I don't want to speak for our guests. Okay, there you go. Sorry.
All right. Well, let's talk about the whiskey.
Okay.
Old Elk Distillery was founded by serial entrepreneur Kurt Richardson. Ring a bell?
It does not.
The innovator who created Otterbox.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't just know him by name, but okay. I know what the Otterbox is.
Old Elk Distillery uses a proprietary slow cut proofing process whereby proofing water is added over a period of several weeks or more, as compared to the more typical proofing process of only 24 to 48 hours. The intent of this process is to preserve the congeners present in the bourbon. Now, congeners are what give whiskey its flavor for both good and bad.
Okay.
For me, this whiskey is not bad, and it does not make the cut.
What?
No, the nose and palate are pleasant, but it has a funky...
Dude, you're such a snob.
Finish.
Wait, you don't like it?
No, it's got this frunk, trademark Curiosity Public.
Okay.
Which is like a wheat finish aftertaste that just is a little off for me. And especially for the price, I would search out a Weller, of course, or the barrel-proof versions of Larceny or Maker's Mark 46. So it would go thumbs down for me.
Wow. Odie, I give a 2 thumbs up. What do you
Oh,
think?
are we
Well,
voting?
no, not okay. I won't say what I'm saying yet. I mean, it's
You didn't
fantastic.
hear anything.
Okay, there you go. All right. Okay, well, we're excited. Thanks, Mark, for that mumble. That surprises me that you didn't like it, though. Okay, we're going to move on to our show. We're excited to have our next guest in studio with us. We have Erin Quick, the founder and CEO of PairTree. Her background includes 20 years of global brand building expertise for companies like Domino's Pizza, Merrill Lynch, and the Make-A-Wish Foundation. She received the Puget Sound Business Journal's 40 Under 40 Award. She speaks at the University of Washington and Brown University on entrepreneurship and is currently a Visionary Voices member and speaker at All Raise, a nonprofit on mission to accelerate the success of female founders and funders. But most importantly, as a 2-time adoptive mother, she started PairTree, a tech-enabled platform that enhances the adoption process for families across the United States. Erin, welcome to the show. First, let's talk about PairTree. What is PairTree, the company, and its mission?
Yeah, thanks for having me. PairTree, at kind of the most simple explanation, is a connection platform where adopting families and expectant moms can connect directly and then connect with an adoption professional to help navigate their adoption journeys.
Okay. So an adoption, when we had our little interview on this was interesting because it's a much more complicated process than because I've never adopted. So I didn't understand it, but this process can take like years
hugely
for adoptions, and there's not a lot of consolidated information. And it kind of sounds like you guys have taken the best of breed and kind of put it together into a big announcement that we have with the first of its kind mobile app providing modern adoption access and support at your fingertips. Congratulations on this app.
Thanks.
Now explain a little bit about what this does to help the adoption process.
Yeah, so to your point, so adoption in the United States, if you're going to adopt an infant in the US, you're going to spend upwards of $60,000 and wait 24 months. And you can walk that process really unethically without even knowing it.
Oh, wow.
And it's an incredibly fragmented industry. And so these were all issues that, having gone through it twice, I realized that they're all issues that could be solved with technology. And so we built a platform, including iOS and Android apps, like you mentioned, to help streamline the process, make it more efficient, in the hopes of bringing the cost from $60,000 down to, on average, 15, and the timeline from 24 months down to, on average, 9 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's on the adoptive parent side. On the expectant mom side, we provide expectant moms with more choice and control over that process, which is obviously hugely important. And expectant moms and birth moms have notoriously been somewhat neglected in this process, and they are clearly some of the most important people in this process. So ensuring that we can take care of them and provide them then a platform where they can access lifelong support is super important.
So I learned something about this. So it's not, when you go into the adoption process, the adopting family and the mother have to kind of work together, and there's normally not a lot of communication previously without technology. So explain how this kind of puts that and binds that together to make that more successful.
Yeah, so the funny thing, so 2 massive things have changed in adoption in the last 50 years. One of them is the internet. Most of the laws about adoption in the US are written pre-internet. So the internet is one of the major changes. The second one is what you mentioned, open adoption. So adopting family and birth family will work together in service to this child forever. And there's no tools or technologies to help them do that. And so they were turning to things like divorce apps, which obviously sets the wrong tone for that relationship. But in working together in these open adoptions, which is now 90% of adoptions, all the research says that's what's best for the adoptee, which is what we care about. So adoptees need to know where they come from, why they were placed for adoption. And the best way to do that is to have open and ongoing communication with the birth family. And the best way to do that is to create a very simple platform to interact with them.
All right. So who is the application's targeted audience, and what support does the service provide?
So the 2 primary audiences are adopting families,
okay,
and then expectant moms that are looking to place. And then there's kind of this third tertiary audience that are adoption professionals. So those are social workers, people that you need to use to be approved to adopt if you're an adopting family, and then adoption attorneys.
Okay. And so does this app bring them all together for communication platforms? And in one location then, or is it kind of 2 of the 4 items that you need to get this together?
Yeah, it brings them all together. So it's primarily adopting families going through, and when they hit different stages, we introduce them to the right professional. And then same thing for expectant parents. When an expectant mom first logs on to PairTree, she wants to connect with an adopting family. Once she finds a family that she wants to move forward with, we'll introduce them both to their respective adoption attorneys in their states. And so the platform is, I mean, it's why we call it a connection platform. It's a very simple place for anyone to find what they need at their various stage in the journey.
All right, so let's talk as a woman co-founder. What issues have you encountered? We kind of talked about this a little bit off the air, that you kind of had a completely different experience. So let's kind of talk about that experience that you've had as a woman co-founder with this.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting the experience that Mona was talking about, and I was kind of I had to check my own judgment at the door, because I went through the Techstars Accelerator, and in doing that, we had 100 investors that we got to pitch, and I was like, oh great, I'm going to talk to a bunch of guys about my old ovaries, and like explain like miscarriage and stuff to them. And as I was getting onto these calls and walking through our, my story, I was floored, because 5 minutes into a couple of them, I saw tears running down men's faces, or somebody would stop and be like, Erin, we're going through it right now too. And so I thought I was going to have to explain how we're not a nonprofit and how this is a business that can scale by doing the right thing in the world. And people got it right away. And so I was a little bit like, being a woman in this sector, I was like, oh God, people are going to think this is too soft. And I was kind of floored at the response I got from, I mean, a lot of the investors were male. But I think, to Mona's point, talking about being sponsored by men and having them open up their networks, I saw that in spades.
So and you know what? It's kind of, we live in the Pacific Northwest. I do think that we have some great technology leaders in this type of area, where I myself struggle, because I have females that have been a part of this show since day one. And so I just think of them as teammates. So Gwen has been a part of our show, and I got Alessandra works with this, and a couple other people. And I know that it must be completely different in other locations. And so I'm just grateful to be here in the Pacific Northwest. All right.
Me too.
That's exactly. So
I had a quick side question on the adoption.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I saw, we talked about a lot of the benefits for the adopted person, because for time length and money and scammers and all this. Do you see a big impact for the expectant mothers, where they're much more comfortable going through the process now?
Oh, hugely. So again, because 90% of adoptions are open, a birth mom's greatest fear is that she's going to be cut out of her child's life. And with 90% of adoptions being open, it makes making a highly compatible match super important. And our platform unlocks the nation of adopting families to her and lets her get really specific about what she wants, which gives her more peace of mind about this decision. And so I think, and then obviously we connect her to resources for lifetime support to make sure that she has everything that she needs, because this is a huge decision that requires lifetime support. So much more so than the conventional model. Yes.
All right, great.
So is this kind of last little question, and we'll play out to our pick of the day type of deal is what we're gonna have going on here. Is this kind of like a Bumble or Tinder type of app? I'm trying to get kind of
I mean, yes, people make that analogy to an online dating, and in terms of the experience that people have on the
because those apps
platform,
are easy to use.
Yes, and so yes, in terms of the experience people have, but we try to steer clear of that analogy, because it doesn't necessarily serve the kind of the weight of this experience that, Bumble and you're looking for somebody for you. You're looking for somebody for you for a child, so the kind of the emotional weight of it isn't necessarily considered when you use that analogy, but yes, in terms of ease of use, definitely.
All right. So Erin, where can people find more about PairTree, and how can they get in touch with you?
PairTreeFamily.com, and it's not the fruit tree pair.
It's not the
pair, like bringing people together, pairing them.
PAIR.
Yes.
That's right. PAIR. All right. Well, thank you very much for being on our show today.
Guys.
All right.
Thank you, Erin.
Okay. So we're going to move now, I think, into our pick of the day.
And now our pick of the day for our whiskey tastings. Let's see what bubbles to the top.
All right. Our pick of the day. Odie, what do you say?
Well, okay, wait. I wanna get some things clear. What is that taste right after, like, the warmness of it? Do you know what I'm tasting? I don't know.
To me, it's the wheat. It needs a little bit more time.
It's wheat?
It's wheat.
Okay. because I didn't really like that, but I like the smoothness of the drink.
Little frunky, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah, she got it.
It went down hard, but I still enjoyed it. It wasn't something that had a big
But
bite
for
to me.
$75,
Yeah, no.
I'm looking elsewhere. That's my thing.
Yeah, you know what? I could probably find a $30.
Hey, I'm happy
whiskey.
to finish the bottle with you here, Nathan.
Well, I'm
just
sure
not going to go for another one.
Okay, I'm sure we're gonna do that after the show. Which
Oh,
is
I'm
pretty
giving it a
exciting.
thumbs up.
I am giving it a thumbs up. Also,
Thumbs
too.
down.
Ah.
Oh,
Sorry, just-
Mike's gonna be very disappointed because I think he would have actually liked this too.
We can save him a little bit.
You save a little bit. We can
Yeah,
send it
he
to the sick
deserves
guy.
it.
All right. Well, we're about out of time. We want to thank our listeners for joining the program. If you want to be a part of Tech Time Radio, you can always click on the Be a Caller and ask a question and our talk back recording system, and we'll put you on the air. From all of us at Tech Time, it was an honor to be the host of today's show. I wish you a great week. Remember, the science of tomorrow starts with the technology of today.
Thank you, Nathan, and thank you to all our guests.
Yes. We'll see you guys next week.
All right. That was so much fun. Thank you for having me. Thanks, Mike, for being sick, but it's your gig. Miss ya.
Thanks for joining us on Tech Time Radio. We hope that you had a chance to have that moment today in technology. The fun doesn't stop there. We recommend that you go to techtimeradio.com and join our fan list for the most important aspect of staying connected and winning some really great monthly prizes. We also have a few other ways to stay connected, including subscribing to our podcast on any podcast service, from Apple to Google and everything in between. We're also on YouTube, so check us out on youtube.com/techtimeradio, all one word. We hope you enjoyed the show as much as we did making it for you. From all of us at Tech Time Radio, remember, Mumm's the word. Have a safe and fantastic week.